And shout out to his coaches, Calvin. Like, I love his coach, Calvin. He's a great trainer. And he's taught Tank and built him up well.
Other boxers have spoken out about their thoughts on the breakup between Gervonta Davis and Calvin Ford. Many people were shocked by the news, but others thought it was a normal part of boxing and that it should be accepted. In this case, it's all because of Floyd Mayweather and Gervonta Davis's bad relationship. Their fight has left Leonard without a job and made him nothing more than Davis's personal assistant or, better yet, personal promoter.
We went shopping, hanging out, having fun. I got a phone call. No, I called and asked the question. He said, "Oh, hell no, that didn't happen." So I let it go because I'm thinking somebody playing the game until we got back here. And then when we got back here, they said they couldn't let it in the gym.
We were out shopping and having fun when I got a call. I asked him what happened, and he said, "Oh hell no, that didn't happen at all. I let it go because I thought someone was playing a joke until we got back. When we got back, they said they couldn't let him go to jail."
Tank pop up and said, "Man, y'all could at least told me." I said, "Yo, you don't need to be worried about shit like that." You know what I'm saying? Just call Floyd. And that was his way of just making Tank talk to him. That was a mentor lessons right there to get him to talk to him.
And now their feud has hurt the relationship between Gervonta Davis, his coaches Calvin Ford, and Kenny Ellis, sadly. It's been going on since after Davis's fight with Frank Martin, when Calvin Ford agreed to an interview, but didn't slam Floyd as hard as Davis would have liked. Davis thought that Ford would be on his side and say what he thought in public, but instead, like Leonard, Ford was more moderate in his responses.
I get it. But they only say you can only have one master.
This was the start of the end for them, and even though Calvin Ford recently cleared things up, it was too late because Gervonta Davis wasn't impressed with what Ford was doing. Only Gervonta Davis can say if this was enough to fire Ford, but it's also been said that the two had some deeper problems that hadn't been addressed for a while. Claressa Shields, the female heavyweight winner and Gervonta Davis's enemy, didn't like what was going on.
And I look forward to watching that fight.
Is this a pay-per-view fight though? Would you buy it? Are you gonna buy it?
I bought any fight that Tank has had pay-per-view. And I think that
She instead spoke about her life for Calvin Ford and how much he's done for Gervonta Davis in her locker. Davis isn't making the best decision, and she feels this is going to impact his performance against Lamont Roach negatively. Shout out to his coach Calvin. I love his coach Calvin. He's a great trainer, and he's top Tank and built him up well. It's sad if anything sad has happened, but they know best. She then moved on to her feelings about the fight. Everyone can be beaten, but I think Tank knows that he's against a good fighter, and he'll train hard. I know we had our dispute back and forth, or whatever, but at the end of the day, if we talk about just boxing, he's a good fighter, and I look forward to watching that fight.
Lamont not being as known of a fighter as his past opponent.
Yeah, but it's not Tank's fault. The guys with the so-called names, they turned.
When asked if it was worth a pay-per-view fight and if she was going to buy the ticket, she answered, "I've always bought any fight that Tank has had on pay-per-view, and I think that Lamont Roach is worth watching. I think this fight will be technical and skilled, and Tank will be powerful as usual. Let the best man win this, coach." Kenny Ellis, who wasn't really involved in the mix earlier, had also spoken on what happened. However, news has been out that both Calvin Ford and Kenny Ellis will be leaving Gervonta Davis's camp before that was proven. Kenny Ellis had described the scene, saying,
"He been with me since I was 7. I used to sleep in Coach Calvin's house. I used to sleep at his job when he was working at a seafood restaurant."
Lamont not being as known as a fighter as his past opponent yet, but it's not Tank fought. The guys with the so-called names, they turned Tank down.
In Baltimore.
When I had to train Tank, when I didn't want him to get in trouble and I wanted to make sure we was together, I used to take him to work with me. And he'd chill. Everybody know him. Everybody know him at work.
It's not Tank's fault. It's not Calvin's fault either. There has been a misunderstanding, and we've just not really been on the same page, and he feels he doesn't want to take that energy into a career-defining fight against Lamont Roach. There could be some settlement later, though Coach Kenny Ellis feels positive as Tank and Coach Calvin Ford share more than a coach-fighter relationship. It's more like a father-son thing, and they both have a strong emotional connection that transcends whatever any of them stands to gain in relation to boxing alone. Calvin Fort and Gervonta Tank Davis's journey to the top was marked by deep losses, especially the tragic death of Quator Gurley, a close family friend and a key influence in Davis's life. Success born from adversity is like a flame sparked in the darkest night, small at first but fueled by struggle. It grows into a force that lights the way for others.
Remember, Calvin used to fuss at the guys that was coming up with me, and they was in the streets a lot. He was telling them, like, you can't have 1 feet.
Calvin Fort, Gervonta Davis's coach, in many ways, embodies that perfectly. The Baltimore Punchers seem doomed to join the countless others in jail or death row. In his rough childhood in one of the most impoverished neighborhoods in Baltimore, however, boxing saved him. A 7-year-old Davis found ambition in the confines of a gym, which saw him rise to the epitome of the sport of the sweet science. Still, he didn't come out unscathed, and while he made it out, his friends and family became tragic statistics. One of those people was Quator Gurley. He was the friend who introduced Davis to boxing and the late son of Davis's longtime trainer and father figure Calvin Fort.
And then 1 feet out, you gotta be like all the way in it, like focus on the goal, and them guys, they went left. And
for Gervonta Tank Davis, Quator Gurley was more than just a name in the boxing community. He was a beacon of hope and significant influence, without whom the sport might never have gotten the current face of boxing. Gurley, the father of 6, was a promising boxer and a mentor to Davis, who introduced him to boxing at a very young age. Gurley tragically passed away in 2013 at the very young age of 24 after being shot in the North Trenton neighborhood in Trenton, New Jersey, leaving a profound impact on those who knew him. Like Davis, Gurley grew up in the tough neighborhood of Baltimore, faced with the harsh realities of his surroundings, and it would be the same thing that finally took his life. Talented and determined, Gurley showed promise in the ring, but his loss shook the community, especially Ford and Davis, who, going forth, committed many fights in Gurley's memory.
Unfortunately, they got killed.
You weigh the odds out like that. Do you want him to go to jail or you want him to live?
Regardless, Ford's late son might not be around anymore, but his legacy continues to inspire many, serving as a tough reminder of the reality of life in Baltimore. Davis, reflecting on Gurley and many others who passed away too soon, said, Angelo Ward, Ronald Gibbs and Coach Calvin's son, they're guys who died and were such a major influence on my life, he added. Actually, many young men I used to look up to are either dead or in jail. Whenever I fight, I feel like their legacy is going into the ring with me. It's a big responsibility, but I'll take that. Quator Gurley played a key role in Gervonta Davis's early boxing journey, but he was not Davis's trainer in the conventional sense.
Whole idea to come to the boxing gym.
If I ain't had the people I had around me, like the people that started with me and things like that, I probably would have been off the scene for a long time.
A close friend, Gurley introduced Davis to boxing when he was just 7 years old. His support helped steer Davis toward a successful career, which has seen Davis rise through the ranks like no other. When I look back, I think what happened to them kept him straight. Ford said to Baltimore Sun that although Gurley didn't serve as a traditional trainer, his early support and mentorship were instrumental in shaping Davis's path from a troubled youth to a boxing champion. Gurley's legacy continues to inspire Davis, illustrating the power of friendship and guidance in achieving greatness. The 24-year-old's death came just after the shooter, Isaiah Green, of Trenton, had been freed on bail for a separate violent crime. Green had a past of criminal activity, and it would continue after his release. He gunned down Gurley in an incident that shocked the local community.
Big knockout for Tank, 30-0, 28 knockouts. What did you guys think of Tank's knockout tonight?
I think it was amazing, bro.
In the aftermath of this horrific event, the shooter was arrested on November 18, 2013 by the members of the Mercer County Homicide Task Force. Green was charged with murder and multiple weapons offenses, with his bail set at $500,000. This was followed by a lengthy legal fight, which saw Green face 3 separate trials. Green was convicted of unlawful possession of a handgun during his 3rd trial, but the jurors deadlocked on the other charges, which included first-degree purposeful murder. Ultimately, Green made a plea deal on February 27, 2015, pleading guilty to second-degree reckless manslaughter. He was sentenced to 6 years in prison concurrent with other terms related to his weapons conviction and an entirely separate aggravated assault case. Interestingly, Green's criminal history further complicated the case, as he had been engaged in violent crimes in the past as well.
Knockout to me, because it looked so crazy on the video.
I do. I gotta see it. I gotta.
You didn't see it?
I seen it, but it's a lot going on.
Hold on, Lauren, you happen to...
Just 5 days after killing Gurley, he was charged with drug distribution offenses. However, as part of his plea deal, the drug charges were dropped, and Judge Massey, who presided over the case, found that the Green sentence was fair and just. The pride of Baltimore and the man behind Gervonta Davis, Calvin Ford, was born on August 30, 1967, in Baltimore, Maryland. From the get-go, life was hard as he faced significant challenges during his youth, which ultimately led to a 10-year federal prison sentence for drug-related crimes. Despite all the turbulence in his life and background, his passion for boxing remained unwavering and played a crucial role in making him the world-renowned trainer he is today. Come 1998, Ford was released from prison, and right away he dedicated himself to mentoring young individuals, determined to guide them away from the pitfalls that forced him into a prison sentence.
He wants to see it really quick.
I don't have it with me, but we'll get it.
Yeah, sure.
Ren, good seeing you. Ren, is there a doubt who's the...
Ford today is known mostly for his contributions to Gervonta Davis's career, but he has done a lot more for his community. He co-founded the Upton Boxing Center with Kenny Ellis, creating a nurturing environment for aspiring boxers and helping them prepare for competitions like the USA Boxing and the Junior Olympics. Without him, many of those young individuals could have become another addition to the statistics. Instead, because of Ford's dedication to coaching, those individuals have become successful athletes vitalizing the sport in Baltimore. All this was possible because of Ford's coaching philosophy, hard work, determination, and relentless pursuit of success.
No doubt, you know what it is. I've been telling you this, everybody.
What do you tell Tank if he's watching?
Hey, great job, champ.
Interestingly, Ford's life story has also inspired the character Dennis Scooty Wise in the acclaimed series, A Wire, which illustrates his impact on and off the ring. However, his coaching philosophy is centered around fostering discipline and resilience, offering hope and structure to those in need. His commitment to developing young talent and changing lives remains at the forefront of his coaching career, demonstrating the profound impact one individual can have on their community when surrounded by adversity. Being the beacon of hope is not everyone's cup of tea. However, for Calvin Ford, it's just another day at the office. Despite the tragic loss of his son in 2013, the entire community, including Gervonta Davis, continues to draw inspiration from the champion that could have been. For Davis, Gurley was the reason Davis stepped into the ring in the first place.
Won't stop.
All right, there you have it. Lights out. If you don't pay the light bill,
Let's get wild.
You know, that was a beautiful knockout. That was a beautiful knockout.
Gurley was a father of 6, a potential boxer, and a mentor who first brought Davis to the gym, sparking a lifelong commitment to the sport. You probably doubted the likelihood of the match after some news over the weekend. Well, you should probably see Tank Davis's reaction to those claims. World Boxing Association lightweight champion Gervonta Davis just cleared the air about the uncertainty around his next title defense against World Boxing Association super featherweight champion Lamont Roach. The duo was set to lock horns on December 14 at the Toyota Center, Houston, but a recent report from the boxing scene suggested that it could be pushed to when.
Man, if a boxer jump at you, you're not gonna flinch. Like, well, especially a guy with 29-0 with 27 KOs, like, who not gonna flinch? Anybody gonna.
According to the Boxing Media House, people associated with Davis had confirmed to them that the bout was being reworked and could be turned into a doubleheader. They reported that Davis was now being eyed for a January 25th date in the co-main event of the potential David Gervonta versus David Morrell fight, who are vying for about the same date in Las Vegas. Gervonta and Davis appeared on the Amazon Prime pay-per-view card together back in June earlier this year, when Davis defended his title against Frank Martin via an 8th-round knockout, and Gervonta emerged victorious over Alexander Gazik. Regardless, after TalkSport editor Michael Benson shared this news on X today, Davis had just one word for it: Capville Lomachenko and Shocker Stevenson. Brandon Figueroa and Stephen Fulton. This means that the stories of the move may not be completely true.
Was looking for a coach. If would you take on Errol Spence?
Tank originally sought a unification bout against IBF lightweight champion Vasily Lomachenko or WBC lightweight champion Shocker Stevenson. However, Lomachenko pulled out and is now contemplating retirement, while the talks for the Stevenson fight had come to a halt. Nonetheless, the reason behind the change in David fight was reportedly a series of situations that made it wobbly despite Davis's claims against the double-header, there was some big names tossed around for the main card boxing scene reported that because Davis was such a massive favorite in this bout, Premier Boxing Champions was trying to create more interest in the card by adding a fight between newly elevated WBC featherweight champion Brandon Figueroa and Stephen Fulton, with Fulton winning their first fight in 2021. Even Yalchero name was mentioned to be potentially added to the card, though no names were mentioned for his opponent.
First, I would go to Derek James and get permission from Derek James. That's the first thing I would do. And Derek give me his blessings. You get what I'm saying? I would jump in.
Man, if a jump is not going to go well, especially a guy with 29-0 with 27 KO, who is not going to flinch anybody going. The initial December 14th day seemed too close to the Alexander Usyk vs Tyson Fury rematch to draw significant PPV interest, making the new January 25th date seem more practical. However, with Davis's latest tweet, it now appears they may end up competing with a heavyweight bout for viewership. That said, while Gervonta Davis has suggested his fight date remains set, the full story behind the scenes is still unclear, or it could be business as usual with Davis facing Lamont Roach without a hitch on December 14th.
Got it down 30.
Errol Spence, who also left his career-long trainer Derek James, was a bit surprised but wasn't disappointed in Gervonta Davis's decision. He has been through that path before, and he understood what it meant to feel disconnected from one's trainer. His experience with Derek James largely formed his response about the Calvin Ford and Gervonta Davis situation. Besides, Errol Spence isn't a stranger to the house, considering he also fought under the Premier Boxing Champion banner like Gervonta Davis when the agency was established.
5, 6.
On this, he answered the interviewer, "It's no big deal if he doesn't feel connected to him anymore. It's his choice to leave or stay. I know they had some controversies, but it's perfectly fine if he decides to leave. No one should make a fuss about that." Terence Crawford made history, becoming the first unified welterweight champion in the history of the from major belt era with a 9th-round TKO win over Errol Spence Jr. last year. Crawford added Spence's World Boxing Association, World Boxing Council, and International Boxing Federation titles to his own World Boxing Organization, crowned the knockout victory marked Crawford's 11th straight finish, with 9 of them now coming in the 6th round or later. This, however, was the most impressive of them all, as Crawford put on a boxing masterclass to practically dominate the fight from the moment he dropped Spence in the 2nd round.
Been hit, move up after this fight because he, for the 3rd time in the
That was an unfamiliar position for Spence, who had not previously been dropped once in his accomplished career. By the end of the fight, he had gone down 3 different times. A similar story has Devin "The Dream" Haney, who was dropped 3 times en route to the very first loss of his career.
The end of the 7th.
Crawford finished the fight, landing a stunning 60% of his power shots and 42% of his jabs. His 87 landed jabs were the most by a special opponent. "I only dreamed of being a world champion. I'm an overachiever. Nobody believed in me when I was coming up, but I made everyone a believer." Crawford said post-fight, "I want to thank Spence and his team. Like I told him, without him none of this would be possible for me here tonight." He added, "It means everything because of who I took the belts from. They tried to blackball me. They kept me out. They talked bad about me. They said I wasn't good enough. I couldn't beat these top welterweights. I just kept my head to the sky. I just kept praying to God that I could get the opportunity to show the world how great Terence Crawford is. And tonight, I think I showed how great I am now." Crawford has written his name in the history books, and while he will now take a well-deserved rest, attention quickly turned post-fight as to whether Spence will ask for a rematch. Crawford was on board with that idea too, telling reporters that fighting at 147 pounds was kind of hard for him, and that moving up wouldn't be out of reach. The fight opened with Spence dictating terms and pressuring early, while Crawford cautiously and cluckily sat back, picking his moments to counter like he did late in the 1st round. While there were no major moments for either fighter, Spence overreached on one occasion, and Crawford was quick to counter with a strong left hand. It was just a glimpse of the kind of chess match that was expected in the early rounds, with Crawford known as more of a deliberately slow start starer and Spence likelier to try to set the pace. Spence was able to do just that some more in the 2nd, with a mix of his movement, consistent jab, and relentless pressure causing problems at jab from Crawford saw Spence suddenly dropped for the first time in his career in the final moments of the 2nd round. And that's all for now. For the very best updates on news, moments, events, and actions in the world of boxing, stay connected with us by subscribing to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to turn on notifications to get notified when we drop quality contents like this. Until next time, peace out.